Thank you for the heart puff. I appreciate you. Come through, you guys, and let's talk about religion and spirituality over on YouTube. My YouTube name is in the TikTok bio, but it's also Heavenly Divine Tarot over there on YouTube. So come through. I am live. Can I see? Okay, yeah, I can. I am live. I'm waiting some people to come into the live for YT over there on YouTube. That's the cute name, Peak Rose. Thanks for liking the live, you guys. I appreciate you. I will be back on later today on TT, 7 p.m. Eastern time to read you guys. This is study music. I hope all y'all are well. I'm finna let TT go, and I'm gonna start the video on dark synergy. You know, there's synergy where people are working with the spirits, and then there's dark synergy where people think they're working with dark spirits, but actually they're working with their own made-up spirits that are in their head. So that's what I want to talk about. The people who are being nasty with their faith instead of trying to expand their mind or being loving. So that's what I'm going to talk about on YouTube. I would love for y'all to come through. Everybody's welcome. I'll see y'all over there. Heavenly Divine Tarot, and it's also written down in the TikTok bio. Bye, you guys. Okay. What's up, YouTube? Let me come over to YouTube. I will read you guys later, 7 Eastern time. Dismiss. Okay. I'll do some reads later. But I want to talk about, like I said, I want to talk about people using their faith and being nasty with it and not realizing, like they just hear a word Jesus, you know, and they just run with it, and they think they're supposed to go around and mistreat people on that context. But that's not why people join any type of faith. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of other people who are in the Christian religion who feel that those people make them look bad. So let me grab some things, and then let's start talking about dark synergy. So we're going to talk about the horn and halo effect. That's another name for this name. Or that's another name for this, religious zealots. And thanks for the people who give me the likes, by the way. And, you know, if you guys have any other examples of other religious zealots out there, a nickname I like to say is Jesus Freaks. Type it down below in the chat. We're going to go over, the first one we're going to go over is ChristaBella from Silent Hill. But first, what is dark synergy? What is synergy? Y'all probably hear me talk about that all the time. Basically, in layman's terms, my definition of what synergy is, it's when you are working with the spirits. You are coexisting, you're coexisting, you are working with the spirits. Mostly prayer is done with this, but everyone does this however way that they might. It's with synergy. Synergy means to work with, in my opinion, to work with good spirits and bad spirits. Now, dark synergy, a lot of people would think that's the complete opposite, where people are working with bad spirits. Not necessarily. People might say that spirit's name. What's up, Charles? People might say that spirit's name, but they're not doing anything of that spirit's rule. So that's where dark synergy comes into. So for example, y'all might hear some people y'all see it a lot, especially with tarot readers. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean just because people are with the cards, it doesn't mean that they're bad or that they're working with a bad spirit. It definitely depends on the reader. The cards don't mean that the person is bad. It depends on the reader. Someone who's holding a Bible, the halo effect. Someone who's holding a Bible doesn't mean that they're good. It depends on the individual. You know, are they really reading the contents of that scripture? Or are they really living by it? But that's what I'm getting into. Dark synergy, dark cynicism. What's another one? religious zealots. I like to call them Jesus freaks, or fake Christians is another name I like to call them. So dark synergy is when people get so sick and they're wrapped up, all they hear is a word. For example, a lot of y'all have probably heard like rapture or Jesus. All they hear is the word Jesus, and then they just run with it. But they're not really teaching anything of the teachings of Jesus. So let's go into this. Where's Gemini? Let's do a textbook definition of dark synergy.
Dark synergy means two or more negative, toxic, or harmful things combined to create an outcome that is much worse than they would have caused individually. Think of it like a perfect storm, where different bad factors fuel each other to do maximum damage.
To do maximum damage, think of it like a perfect storm where there's this is the basic etymology, the basic definition of this definition, dark synergy. There's another dark synergism. There's another word that thought I was trying to find. What is the difference between, well, the difference between dark cynic and dark synergy is when someone believes that they don't believe, they know, well, they may believe that they know that they're working with the spirit, but they're really not. They're just using the spirit's name to go around and as an excuse to mistreat people. So let's use the example of ChristaBella from Silent Hill. Yeah, we get next to Jesus.
If ChristaBella were dropped into the world of Silent Hill, the result would be a textbook case of dark synergy. In this scenario, you aren't just putting a character in a scary town. You are combining the internal psychological shadow of a person with the town's supernatural ability to manifest guilt. The two forces feed on each other, creating a monster or a nightmare that is exponentially more terrifying than either could be alone. The ingredients of the synergy. To understand the dark synergy here, look at how these three elements would fuse. The aesthetic, 1950s pinup. Normally, this represents glamour, perfection, and the American dream. In Silent Hill, this becomes a mask for something decaying. The town, Silent Hill, it acts as a mirror. It takes your subconscious fears and gives them physical, rusted, and blood-soaked forms. The persona, ChristaBella. If she enters the town with hidden trauma or vanity, the town uses her own glamour against her. An example of the dark synergy in action. Imagine a specific monster or shift created by this combination. The polished ruin transformation. Instead of just being a woman in a pretty dress, the dark synergy creates a creature where the pink and emerald green silk of her outfit is fused directly into her skin with rusted gold staples. 1. Factor A, vanity. The desire to stay perfect and pinned up. 2. Factor B, Silent Hill's rot. The town's physical manifestation of decay and rust. 3. The synergy. The creature doesn't just look bad, it looks like a horrifying parody of beauty. It might move with the stiff, jerky motions of a broken porcelain doll, leaving a trail of neon pink fluid that smells like formaldehyde. The result? The horror doesn't come from the rust alone, or the pin-up look alone. It comes from the clash between...
Let me fix the bot because sometimes it confuses the game with the first movie. Yeah, it's confusing. Oh, so that's okay. I didn't know that actually. This is where originally who ChristaBella is. So thanks for the likes, by the way, you guys. Hit the reaction.
In the 2006 Silent Hill movie, ChristaBella, the High Priestess of the Brethren, is the ultimate engine of dark synergy. While the town provides the supernatural fog and monsters, ChristaBella provides the human, evil. When her fanatical religious zealotry combines with the town's power to manifest pain, they create a cycle of suffering that is far worse than either could achieve alone. The components of her dark synergy, ChristaBella represents a perfect storm of three destructive forces. Religious fanaticism. She doesn't see herself as a villain, she believes she is purifying the world. This makes her immune to guilt, which is usually the only way to survive Silent Hill. The denial of truth. Her power comes from convincing a whole community that their sin, burning a child, was actually a righteous act. This collective denial creates a bubble of safety within the church that keeps the darkness out, but only by fueling the hatred.
I want to pause right there. You gotta see, like, within the movie. I like the metaphor from that movie, though. How the town felt that they were within the right to burn the child within the movie. And that's kind of how I feel and religious fanatics, religious zealots, that's another, people who are not really using religion to expand their mind or to make them better people or to love, if you will, or to live within peace. But that's what I'm getting at right here. I wish I could back up a little bit. I kind of even want to start over. But that's what reminds me, that's what I feel that most people don't realize that they're doing with this Abrahamic religions, especially towards colored people, Latino people, but especially towards our Asians, but especially towards natives and black people. It's supposed to be somebody's choice. You're not supposed to be coming in. It's really not. You're not coming in and forcing someone. What's up? What's up, Jane? What's up? But yeah, it's supposed to be somebody's choice. And the whole getting these people into fear. I'm really into the love of God, not the fear of God. But I'm finna let Jim continue what she was talking about. How, if you guys remember the movie, within the movie, ChristaBella, and with the English tongue. She was the pastor. She was the one who said, my faith, will guide me through, which I love saying that. But that lady was evil. She was the one who was letting people punch the main character in the face. And the main character was the one who was learning the story about how people were using religion as an excuse to burn people, rape people, hurt people. And then that's why I want to talk about that today, because it's too similar to what some people are doing today with these Abrahamic religions. If you hear me say Abrahamic religion a lot, that's basically what that means by covering all these religions that believe in Jesus, including Satanism, because that is an Abrahamic religion. They all are supposed to stem Muslim, Judaism, and Christianity. Instead of them extending from Constantine, like we learned in history, within the story, the biblical story, these morals, they stem, from Abraham's mind. So that's why you may hear some people refer to all these religions as one as Abrahamic religions, because that's what they are. They're Abrahamic religions. So you're going to hear me say that a lot. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Because when people come to me and they're just naturally about Jesus, and Jesus is within their life, and it's a normal thing, it's fine. But those people who come to me and they want to make an excuse to make up sins that you're doing and say you're not even really doing these sins, say you really are a beautiful person, and they're just making up just randomly how you look. Like, we can go into Exodus where they have made these quotes of Moses saying that black people are supposed to go to hell because they have dark skin and they're Canaanite. And that is I feel that is, I don't care if it's accurate or inaccurate, that is a horrible way to teach the world how to mingle with people who are on this planet with them. But it stems from this. I think we will get into dark sanctuary, or we can just get into it right now. And this is what this gets into. That's actually what I'm talking about. This happened in this movie where they burned the little girl. That was a dark sanctuary. And so what people are confused about is people think that those people are getting dark spirits and doing rituals. That's not a ritual, actually. That's not even synergy. Dark synergy is when these people are just saying a spirit's name, like Jesus, 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 and they're just hurting you. And so it's made up within their mind. It's a sick curiosity. It's a sick fixation. The religious fanatics. It's within their mind that they're doing a rule or they're doing something or because there are certain rules to be following. Like some people might say commandments or virtues or whatever, different names. But there are certain rules to be following if you're doing good magic or bad. So there are some people out there, what I'm trying to say, who are doing no magic at all. They're just doing the kooky shit that they've made up in their fucking head. And that's most of the shit that you're going to see out here. A lot of people don't have curses on them. A lot of people are just seeing kooky people in front of them. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and I'm not telling nobody to drop whatever religion you are or that you like or whatever prayers that you like. I'm actually telling you to keep on. Keep it on. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Do whatever you like. Especially if it's giving you love and peace with the people around you too. That's what religion is supposed to be. It's supposed to make people better. It's not supposed to have you guide your eyes out and then for some random reason you read a verse up in some spiritual text and now you want to gouge everybody's eyes out too. I feel like as we get older, if you're randomly mean to people and you're an adult and you're catching yourself being mean to people, especially for no reason, that's how you know you need therapy. You have to then you can go back to the religion. All right.
In the 2006 Silent Hill movie, ChristaBella, the High Priestess of the Brethren, is the ultimate engine of dark synergy. While the town provides the supernatural fog and monsters, ChristaBella provides the human evil. When her fanatical religious zealotry combines with the town's power to manifest pain, they create a cycle of suffering that is far worse than either could achieve alone. The components of her dark synergy, ChristaBella represents a perfect storm of three destructive forces. Religious fanaticism. She doesn't see herself as a villain, she believes she is purifying the world. This makes her immune to guilt, which is usually the only way to survive Silent Hill. The denial of truth. Her power comes from convincing a whole community that their sin, burning a child, was actually a righteous act. This collective denial creates a bubble of safety within the church that keeps the darkness out, but only by fueling the hatred of the demon outside. The catalyst of hatred. By burning Alessa Gillespie, ChristaBella didn't just hurt a person. She created the very darkness that eventually swallowed the town. Her actions gave the supernatural forces of Silent Hill a reason to exist. Why she is the dark synergist. In a typical horror movie, the monster is the threat. In Silent Hill, the dark synergy is that ChristaBella's goodness is more dangerous than Alessa's evil. Factor A, the cult. Factor B, the darkness. The dark synergy result uses purity to justify torture, feeds on pain and betrayal. A never-ending loop where the cult burns people to stop the darkness, which only gives the darkness more power to trap them forever. The turning point. The most powerful example of this synergy happens at the end of the film. When ChristaBella stabs Rose inside the church, she thinks she is striking down a sinner. Instead, she creates a physical bridge, through Rose's blood, that allows the darkness to finally enter the sanctuary. Her own violent righteousness is exactly what allows her enemies to destroy her. The aesthetic of her evil, unlike the rusted, bloody monsters outside, ChristaBella remains clean, poised, and controlled. This is the synergy of the uncanny. The more perfect and calm she appears while screaming about burning children, the more terrifying she becomes. She is the human monster that makes the literal monsters look like victims.
Want to know ChristaBella's dark synergy compares to the game version of the story. The game is badass, but we'll not get into the game today. We will be into the game for years. There's so much to dissect. The pain that they really, and that's what I want everyone to understand. It's really, when y'all look at some people with religion or spirituality, whatever, however they're being guided by their spirits, ancestors, forefathers, whatever, are they using pain or are they using love? Yo, it's that fucking simple. Y'all get me mad how y'all want to. I'll go deep with you, but don't forget 1 + 1 is fucking 2. Okay? We can go to infinity and shit. Don't forget the basics, man. Don't forget the basics. Are these people who come at you using their faith with love or with hate? That's why I only like to accept people who come at me with their faith with love rather than hate. We're going to get into some more examples. Striking down the center. And that's what I kind of feel like is happening to racist white people right now. especially with the gerrymandering that's happening in Georgia. Like Kemp's about to be out, our governor. We're about to have a new governor. So whatever he does, especially if it's going to hurt people, constituents within the state, it's going to be reelected. Reversed as soon as he's out. So of course they're going to try and do some tricks about that, but like the same gerrymandering that they're doing across the South, they're basically trying to do apartheid where they want racist white people to say what is the say for all people throughout the United States of America. And they swear they're not racist. And I think it's just like the example. I think that's why Silent Hill is one of my favorite movies. The first one, like it's such a good plot because how people in their haste to hurt other people, really they're just hurting and stopping themselves. So be careful whatever type of religion or spirituality. Spirituality is people who are into the spirits and the spirit world, and religion is where people you have to bow down to a god. So both those people are into, you know, the unknown, if you say, if we'll say. The typical horror movie, the monster is the threat, but in Silent Hill, the dark synergy, ChristaBella's goodness is more dangerous than Alessa's evil. This cult, how does dark synergy? I want to link the two.
In a cult, dark synergy is the force multiplier that makes the group far more dangerous than just a collection of individuals. It occurs when a leader's specific pathology, like narcissism or megalomania, fuses with the follower's deep-seated needs, like the desire for belonging or purpose. Individually,
Gosh, megalomania makes me think of Trump and Trumpers.
in a cult, dark synergy is the force multiplier that makes the group far more dangerous than just a collection of individuals. It occurs when a leader's specific pathology, like narcissism or megalomania, fuses with the follower's deep-seated needs, like the desire for belonging or purpose. Individually, a narcissist is just an arrogant person, and a lonely person is just looking for a friend. But when they lock together, they create a closed-loop system where every action feeds the power of the group, while stripping away the identity of the individual. The three pillars of cult synergy. Dark synergy in a cult usually relies on the fusion of these three specific elements. 1. The charismatic mirror, leader plus follower. The leader acts as a mirror, reflecting back exactly what the followers feel they are missing. The leader's path needs absolute control and constant validation. The follower's path needs certainty and a father-mother figure. The synergy. The leader provides the truth, and the followers provide the labor and devotion to make that truth real. This creates a cycle, where the more the followers give, the more the leader feels like a god, which in turn makes the followers believe even more deeply. 2. The isolation loop. Information plus emotion. Synergy is used to cut off the outside world. This isn't just physical isolation, it's psychological dark synergy. Factor A. The group is told they are the chosen ones, or the only ones with the secret knowledge. Factor B. The outside world is framed as the enemy, unenlightened, or demonic. The synergy. The more the outside world criticizes the cult, the more it proves the leader was right about the world being the enemy. This makes the followers retreat further into the group, strengthening the leader's grip. 3. The shared shadow. Guilt plus secrecy. This is the darkest form of synergy. Leaders often force followers to commit transgressions, like breaking a minor law, giving up all their money, or betraying a family member. The action, the follower does something they would normally find shameful. The result. Because they feel they can no longer return to their old life, they become fully dependent on the leader for forgiveness. The synergy. The leader holds the follower's secrets, and the follower holds the leader's power. They are now bound in blood. The dark synergy where their fates are permanently linked. Comparison. Normal leadership versus cult synergy. Element. Healthy leadership.
Oh, really?
Dark
Judah
cult
declared war in
synergy.
Germany?
Identity. Encourages individual
Are you talking
growth.
about recently?
Dissolves the self into the we. Information. Transparent and open to critique. Weaponized and filtered by the leader. Purpose. To achieve a specific external goal. To sustain and expand the leader's ego. Exit path. You are free to leave any time. Leaving is framed as death or betrayal. How the leader uses the crisis. A cult leader uses dark synergy most effectively during a crisis, by framing, like a legal battle or financial trouble, as an attack on the faith. They turn a negative event into a bonding experience. The synergy formula. Internal pressure plus external threat equals absolute compliance. The pressure of the crisis forces the followers to double down on their commitment rather than questioning the leader's mistakes. This is why many cults become most dangerous right before they collapse. The dark synergy reaches its boiling point.
Be careful.
Hitler is a profound example of dark synergy because his rise to power wasn't just about one man's charisma. It was the fusion of a specific historical trauma with a calculated psychological hero myth. In dark synergy, the result is more dangerous than the sum of its parts.
Because he was a Jew.
Here is how that played out in Nazi Germany. 1. The historical catalyst, the trauma. After World War I, Germany was in a state of national shadow. The country faced extreme economic hyperinflation, the shame of the Treaty of Versailles, and political chaos. Factor A. A population feeling humiliated, desperate, and looking for someone to blame. Factor B. A leader with a messiah complex who offered a simple, albeit violent, explanation for their pain. 2.
Like how people do
the
black people
Führer
today.
synergy. The dark synergy occurred when the people's need for a savior met Hitler's Führer principle, the leader principle. This ideology stated that the leader's word was above all written law. The individual, people stopped thinking for themselves. The state, the government became a machine that served one man's whims, the synergy. By convincing the public that Hitler is Germany, any criticism of Hitler became an act of treason against the nation itself. This created a closed loop, where the more power he gained, the more divine and infallible he seemed to his followers.
Messiah.
Jim Jones, the dark synergy of revolutionary suicide. If you want to see this play out in a smaller, more concentrated cult setting, Jim Jones and the People's Temple are the ultimate case study. Factor A, the need. Factor B, the manipulation. The dark synergy result. Social justice. Many followers joined because Jones preached racial equality and cared for the poor. Paranoia. Jones convinced them that the US government was planning to put them in concentration camps. Total dependence. Followers gave up their homes and money to build Jonestown, making them physically and financially unable to leave. The ultimate synergy, the loyalty test. Jones used a terrifying form of dark synergy called White Knights. He would wake his followers in the middle of the night and tell them they were under attack, forcing them to drink a test liquid to prove they were willing to die for the cause. The result? By practicing the act of dying over and over, the followers' natural survival instinct was synergized out of them. When the day finally came to actually drink the poison, their shared identity with the group had completely overridden their individual will to live.
White Knight.
How to spot the pattern? In both Hitler and Jim Jones, the dark synergy followed a specific, toxic recipe. 1. Isolate the group from outside information. 2. Dehumanize an enemy to give the group a shared target for their anger. 3. Fuse the followers' identity so tightly to the leader that they feel they cannot exist without them. This video provides a chilling look at how Jim Jones used his charisma and deceit to create a dark synergy that ultimately led to the tragedy in Guyana.
It was Guyana. I thought it was South Africa. What? You got me effed up. So hold on, I gotta rewind because I was gonna go to Maryville next. If y'all heard about Maryville, I think that's in Australia. So Jonestown, you know?
Common mistake. It's actually Guyana in South America, not South Africa. Geographically,
Yes,
Guyana is located on the northeastern coast of South America, bordered by Brazil, Venezuela, and Suriname. While the names sound similar to some, like Ghana or Guinea in Africa, Guyana is a Caribbean-influenced nation where English is the official language. One of the reasons Jim Jones chose it for his socialist paradise. Why the location was key to the dark synergy. Jones didn't just pick Guyana for the weather.
A lot of black people
the location was a strategic part of the isolation loop we talked about. The language barrier. Because Guyana was the only English-speaking country in South America, his followers could communicate locally, but they were still thousands of miles away from their families in the US. The jungle as a wall, Jonestown was carved out of a remote rainforest. There were no roads out. The only way to leave was by a small plane from a dirt airstrip. This physical isolation created a trap where his psychological control could go unchecked. Sovereignty. Jones convinced the Guyanese government that his group was a model agricultural project. This gave him a level of political protection and privacy he could never have had in California. Comparison of the regions. Feature: Guyana, where Jonestown was. South Africa. Continent: South America. Africa, primary landscape, tropical rainforest/jungle, savanna/plateau/coastal. Official language: English, 12 official languages, including English, Afrikaans. Jonestown connection. Site.
So basically that dude was smart as hell because he knew that was going to isolate a big load of people. A mass load of people. I wouldn't say smart as hell, because if he was smart, he wouldn't do that shit. He had a sick curiosity. I need to get a pen because ideas just...
Dark synergy becomes a sick curiosity because it forces us to watch the collision of two things that should never meet, like beauty and rot, or faith and murder. We are naturally drawn to understand how something pure can be twisted into something monstrous. Here is how those psychological layers, the fanatic, the sick curiosity, and the halo horn effect, lock together. 1. The religious zealot, the purity filter. A religious fanatic uses dark synergy to justify horrific acts by filtering them through a divine lens. The individual logic: I am not killing, I am purifying. The synergy. When their personal bloodlust or need for power merges with a holy mandate, they lose all human empathy. The result: they can commit atrocities with a smile, because they believe they have cosmic permission. This is what we see in ChristaBella, Silent Hill. Her purity makes her more dangerous than a standard villain, because she feels no guilt. 2. The halo versus horns effect. This is a cognitive bias that cult leaders and fanatics weaponize to create dark synergy. The halo effect. If we perceive someone as good or holy, the halo, our brains automatically assume everything they do is good. If a priest or a prophet tells a lie, the follower's brain performs gymnastics to turn that lie into a test of faith. The horns effect. If we perceive someone as evil or other, the horns, everything they do is seen as a threat. The dark synergy. A leader uses the halo effect on themselves, and the horns effect on the outside world. This creates a us versus them synergy, where the followers become blind to the leader's crimes, while becoming hyper-aggressive toward anyone else. 3. Why it's a sick curiosity. We call this a sick curiosity because it plays with cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort of holding two conflicting ideas. The question: how can a man who preaches love, Jim Jones, convince a mother to give poison to her child? Our sick curiosity is the brain's attempt to solve that puzzle. We want to see the moment the halo slips and reveals the horns. It is the same reason people slow down to look at a car wreck. We are looking for the breaking point of human nature. The synergy of the saint monster. When you combine these elements, you get the most terrifying archetype in history, the saint monster. Element: the mask, halo. The reality, horns. The dark synergy. Aesthetic: 1950s. Pin-up/white robes/bright lights. Rusted staples/sharp knives/isolation. The perfect exterior makes the hidden violence feel 10x more shocking. Language: love, family, salvation, obedience, punishment, death. Words of love are used to command acts of hate. Summary of the sick curiosity. The dark synergy of a religious fanatic is fascinating because it proves that evil is most effective when it dresses up as good. We are curious about it because it forces us to ask, could I be fooled by the halo? If you want to explore the psychological breaking point further, how do cults use love bombing to create a halo effect? Analyze the saint monster archetype in horror films.
So, one of the watchers said the elite worship Saturn. Let's get into Saturn. Let's analyze him as the god Saturn. Because I mean, didn't he eat all his children or one of his children? Because he felt his children were going to take over him, or they're going to be better than him. Something like this. Let's get into that. But what is the halo horn effect? I feel like we didn't really get into that in this. Did it? While I was away grabbing a pen. The leader uses the halo effect on themselves and the horn effect on themselves on the outside world. This creates a us and them synergy that everybody's talking about, I'm always going to link that back to racism. You always hear you hear a lot of white people say that too. You hear colored people say that too. People don't like divine. People like the us and them. And this is kind of where, this comes from. This creates an us and them synergy where the followers become blind to the leader's crimes, like Trump, while becoming hyper aggressive towards anyone else. Are we able to link Trump to? Is that going extreme? Because I'm gonna write them down, y'all. Or cops, Let me know down there. We're free to get into Saturn next, but let me know down there if y'all want to get into cops who use the halo effect. I think a lot of people mostly hear the halo effect, where they question if somebody's really good, and some people are not really good. I guess that's why my Scorpion senses be tingling. My fourth house is Scorpio. The halo versus horns effect. It's a cognitive bias that the cult leader and fanatics weaponize to create dark synergy, the halo effect. If we perceive someone as good or holy, the halo, our brains automatically assume everything they do is good. If a priest or a prophet tells a lie, the follower's brain performs gymnastics to turn that lie into a test of faith. I do see people do that. The horn effect. If we perceive someone as evil or other, everything they do is seen as a threat. Oh, now I get it when people say to me, people see you as a threat. I was just questioning that. So people think I have horns. Life is like a game of Fable. With the choices that you make are either going to give you a halo or the horns at the end. It's just another metaphor of what I like to say. It's just another metaphor of what I like to say. So I had to rewind, understand that. But that dualities means opposites. The halo versus the horns. It's one of my favorite out here that people just ignore. Some angels are really devils, and some devils might really be angels down there, deep down in their heart. So that's another metaphor people say is don't judge a book by its cover, right? Hit the reaction. Some more people coming here. You don't have to. Why y'all be deleting stuff? Y'all ain't even say nothing. I'm not killing. I'm purifying. Yeah, kind of like how some people. We just had the gentleman who they killed in Ireland, and I don't think how people don't see how that's doing dark synergy, but really going into like dark sanctuary. When they start killing, that's going into sanctuary, and purifying, that's going into sanctuary. We'll talk about that as we get into Silas from Da Vinci Code. He's one of my favorite, not one of my favorite, But I think he's one of the, like, a top good example of dark synergy. A dark synergic. They just feel suffer, suffer, suffer. They feel you should suffer. And that's not true. You could just, like, live in peace. You could be bored. It could be fine. You could be safe. Now, who was I just talking about that I wanted to get into? Trump? Trump with the halo effect? I wonder if it's allowed to tell me. Sometimes Gemini would be like, we're going too far.
Donald Trump's use of the halo effect is a core part of his political strategy. In psychology, the halo effect occurs when our overall impression of a person, he is a winner, colors our perception of everything else they do. For his supporters, Trump's halo is built on his image as a wealthy, decisive, and successful businessman. Because they see him as a winner in one area, they assume he will be a winner in governing, negotiating, and leading the country. 1. The billionaire halo. This is the strongest part of his image. Many supporters view his wealth not just as money, but as proof of competence. The logic: if he can make billions in the private sector, he can fix the economy. The synergy: this creates a shield against criticism. If he faces a legal or business setback, the halo effect leads supporters to believe it's an unfair attack by enemies, rather than a personal failure. His wealth makes him appear uncorruptible because he can't be bought. 2. The straight talker halo. Trump's blunt, often aggressive communication style is seen as a sign of authenticity. The halo supporters see his refusal to be politically correct as a sign of honesty and bravery. The result: because they perceive him as real, they are more likely to forgive or ignore statements that others might find factually incorrect or offensive. The halo of authenticity makes the content of the speech less important than the feeling of the speech. 3. The horns effect on opponents. While the halo effect protects Trump, he simultaneously uses the horns effect, the negative version of the halo, to demonize his opponents. The tactic: by using repetitive nicknames, e.g., crooked, sleepy, low energy, he attaches a single negative trait to an individual's entire personality. The synergy: once the horns are attached, his supporters view everything that person does through a lens of suspicion or contempt. It becomes a dark synergy, where the opponent's attempts to defend themselves are seen as further proof of their guilt or weakness. 4. The mirror synergy, the base. The most powerful use of the halo effect is how Trump mirrors his supporters' own identities. The connection: he frames himself as the defender of the forgotten. The synergy: by tying his own success, the halo, to the success of his followers, any win for Trump feels like a win for them. Conversely, any attack on Trump is interpreted.
Yeah, we going KKK too. But then it'll just start getting to, cognitive dissonance. I was going to say darker shit. That's all it really does. These people, they're all giving themselves courage until they get into some dark sanctuary, which is basically hanging people. Like what we had saw recently that happened in Ireland. Let me get that man's name. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. They said he was shoplifting. Yavis Sekela. He was 35. The Congolese man. Well, let's get into that then. I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
The tragic death of Yves Sekela, the 35-year-old Congolese man you are referring to, who died in Dublin on May 15, 2026, is a chilling example of dark synergy in action. While the incident is still under investigation, the video of several security guards pinning him to the ground for nearly 5 minutes, even as he became unresponsive, illustrates how separate negative factors can combine to create a fatal outcome. In a metaphor of dark synergy, the behavior of the guards isn't just a series of mistakes. It is a toxic fusion of three specific forces that fed off each other. The ingredients of the dark synergy. To understand this through our metaphor, we look at how individual ingredients combine to create a perfect storm of excessive force. 1. Factor A, dehumanization and biases, the horns effect. In dark synergy, if the guards saw Sakila through a lens of racial bias or criminality, due to the shoplifting accusation, they stopped seeing a human in distress. This is the horns effect we discussed. Once he was labeled a threat, every cry for help or struggle for breath was misinterpreted as resistance. 2. Factor B, the pack mentality, group synergy. Individually, one guard might have checked Sakila's pulse or noticed he stopped moving. But in a group of 6, diffusion of responsibility occurs. Each person assumes someone else is monitoring the vitals, or they feed off each other's adrenaline. The synergy here is that the group becomes a single, unthinking machine that only knows how to increase pressure, never release it. 3. Factor C, systemic power, the shield. The guards were operating under the authority of a large department store. This sense of being on the right side of the law acts as a psychological shield. It creates a dark synergy where they feel justified in using extreme measures because they believe they are protecting property, which they valued more than the life in front of them. The resulting dark synergic event, the outcome, Sakila becoming motionless while still being restrained, is the synergy's final product. The physical synergy, multiple bodies, weight, plus position, restraint, plus time, 5 minutes, equals asphyxiation. The psychological synergy, fear, guards, plus panic, Sakila, plus authority, the store, equals a George Floyd moment in Dublin. The metaphor, if one person holds you down, it's a fight. If 6 people hold you down while the world watches, it's a dark synergy where the system of the group has replaced human conscience. The guards didn't just act, they became a collective force that could no longer hear the individual voice of the man beneath them. Comparison to the halo horns dynamic, in this case the guards were operating under a halo of authority, the belief that they were doing their job, while casting Sakila into the horns of the other, the homeless immigrant thief. The dark synergy happens in the gap between those two perceptions, where the hero kills the villain and doesn't realize they have actually become the monster. Element. The ingredient. The synergistic outcome. Individual. A security guard's training, replaced by the heat of the group's aggression. Context. A suspected shoplifting. Escalated into a life or death battle over a bottle of perfume. Geography. A busy Dublin street. Arnott's. The public audience provided the sick curiosity we discussed, watching the synergy unfold in real time. To look deeper into how these tragedies are investigated, how does the diffusion of responsibility work in police/security squads? Compare Eve's security.
We won't get into that together. Maybe y'all can get into that later. You know, tell me what you find in this in the comments below. But I want to look this up real quick. During the time of that incident, I probably need to.
As of May 25th, 2026, the investigation into the death of Eve Sakila is active and highly scrutinized. Here is the breakdown in layman's terms regarding the stolen goods and the current status. The alleged stolen goods. Reports from the family's attorney and local media indicate that the incident began when security guards suspected Sakila of shoplifting a single bottle of perfume from Arnott's. Official confirmation.
Well, anyway, they're still gonna go through that. Let me scan through this. I'm not gonna get into that because that's gonna be a whole nother video. We will find later. Did they find the bottle during, like, they went in the past and found incidents that he was in trouble with that were similar to this one, but during that time, did they find the stolen merchandise during that time? That's my question. But anyways, we'll find out later. Because it already said to me that that specific case is active, so they're still going to be, it's pending. I'm probably not going to get a solid answer for that right now anyways. Let's move on. We already talked about the halo and horn effect. I want to talk about, I like to compare these people to the White Queen.
The evil queen, often confused with the White Queen from Alice in Wonderland from Snow White, is one of the purest examples of dark synergy in folklore.
Oh,
In her case, the synergy isn't just about being mean, it is the fusion of vanity, absolute power, and dark magic. Individually, those things are dangerous. Together, they create a monster that is willing to consume the heart of its own family to stay fair. The 3 pillars of her dark synergy.
So
To see
different.
the synergy at work, look at
synergy.
how these 3 elements feed each other to create something far worse than a simple villain. 1. The mirror synergy, the halo horns loop. The queen is obsessed with the halo of beauty. In her mind, being the fairest isn't just about looks, it is about her right to rule. Factor A. Her identity.
That's how she hurts people. But due to the fact that she had, just like it already said, due to the fact that she had dark magic, she's not. Well, she still is. She still had vanity. She wanted absolute power. But she had a fusion. She had a mix of, because keep in mind, dark synergy, what is that? That's when people are not using, they're only using the spirit's name, but they could be using a spirit's name, but they're using their own twisted, sick curiosities of what they want to control other people. Usually they might do that for money, power, sex. Perhaps some other reasons, if you know, tell me down below. But let's get into... Hello, hey you guys, what's up?
You are spot on. Saturn, or Cronus in Greek mythology, is the foundational myth of dark synergy.
Cronus.
While many gods represent specific things like war or love, Saturn represents a terrifying fusion of time, power, and paranoia. In his story, the synergy is so dark that it leads to the ultimate taboo, a father devouring his own children to prevent his own downfall. The ingredients of Saturn's dark synergy. To see the synergy here, you have to look at how his biological role as a father collided with his psychological fear of losing his throne. Factor A, the prophecy, the paranoia. Saturn was told that one of his children would eventually overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his own father. Factor B, absolute power, the ego. As the king of the Titans, he could not accept a world where he was not in control. The synergy. He didn't just exile his children or imprison them, he consumed them. He attempted to physically merge their lives back into his own body to stop time and prevent the future from happening. 1. The devouring time synergy. In mythology, Saturn is often associated with Kronos, time. This creates a sick curiosity in the metaphor. The image. Time gives life to all things, the children. But time also inevitably destroys everything it creates, the dark synergy. By eating his children, Saturn became a literal black hole. He represents the dark side of nature, where the parent, the creator, becomes the predator. 2. The halo versus horns of a god. The halo Saturn was actually the god of the Golden Age, a time of peace and plenty. He was seen as a provider of agriculture and wealth. The horns. Underneath that golden surface was a monster who would swallow a newborn baby whole to protect his ego. The dark synergy. The world was perfect, the Golden Age, only because Saturn was ruthlessly crushing any potential threat before it could even grow. His peace was built on a foundation of hidden horror. Comparison, Saturn versus the cult leader. If you look at the dark synergy of a cult leader, like Jim Jones or Hitler, they are essentially modern versions of the Saturn myth. Saturn's behavior. Cult leader's behavior. The dark synergy swallows his children to keep his power. Swallows the followers' identities and money. The leader survives by consuming the potential of everyone around them. Fears the next generation, the future. Fears outside information or the truth. They both try to freeze time so they never have to face accountability. The result, Zeus eventually escapes and cuts Saturn open. The result, the truth eventually breaks through and the group collapses. The synergy eventually becomes so heavy that it implodes under its own weight. The aesthetic of the synergy. Artists throughout history have been obsessed with this dark synergy. The most famous example is Francisco Goya's painting, Saturn Devouring His Son. The sick curiosity note, look at the eyes in that painting. Goya doesn't paint Saturn as a proud king, he paints him as a terrifying. The dark synergy is that the person with the most power is often the one most consumed by fear. Summary of the Saturnian loop. Saturn is the grandfather of all the villains we've discussed. from the evil queen to ChristaBella. He proves that the darkest synergy happens when love, or family, is replaced by the hunger for control. Want me to show you how this Saturnian archetype shows up in modern horror movies?
Isn't Saturn Seth? Margaret White and Carrie. That was such a sad movie where she was like filled in blood and everybody's making fun of her because it was her first period. Like, it's supposed to scare every lady into having their first period. Religious, that's for the religious fanatics. What, the Amnerich family? I've never heard of that one. Get Out. Is that the movie Get Out? The sophisticated medical version of Saturn devouring his children. The synergy. They combine pseudoscience with extreme rational fetishization. See, that's when people get confused with like pseudoscience and fetishization. Pseudoscience is a mix of psychology and spirituality mixed together so that people can arrive to their answers. It's coming from a logical perspective while still using your faith or your beliefs. But see, when people start using extreme like racial and fetishizations and shit like that, that's when people just, you know, they start getting confused with the whole halo horn effect. Yep, youngsters, interesting. is that another? Let me know if you can think of another example or a metaphor for someone out here who might be using dark synergy. Would you say Che Guevara? Would you say Che? Would you say? But I'm not sure. Would you say him? Should I type him in the bot and see what they find? What the bot finds for us? So how is it Saturnian? Instead of eating the young, oh, I see what you're talking here about the youngsters. You guys all know about this story more than me, huh? This sounds like it's Seth from the Egyptian story. I know that side.
Now 3 times faster with always ultra thin.
They hollow them out and they put their own aging brains in the young, healthy bodies. Kind of like the theory with people putting their bodies during this time, they're supposed to be putting their brains into machines so they can live like 1,000 years longer. It's in that theory, Tomorrow World. Dark synergy. It is the ultimate Saturnian act. The old literal consuming the young to achieve the immortality. Oh, it's reminding me of Madame Lalaurie. You know, all these, by the way, are white lies that we're getting into. These are all white lies. If you eat people who are younger to you, if you eat people who are younger than you, they'll make you look crazy. That's not going to make you look youthful. All the shit that all the excuses that you guys do besides just drink water and do your exercises. you do all this other crazy shit. This animalistic shit. This is why we had to study these stories. What are these people doing? Without going to see what they're doing. But yeah, it goes as far as simple as them, you know, quoting the Bible and not really reading it, running up on you, hollering Jesus, but they're being hateful with it and not loving. Yeah, it reminds me of Madame Lalaurie, as she used to bathe in the slaves of the babies in their blood over there in Louisiana. She was a slave master. A woman slave master. They were said to be one of the most cruel and bloody ones. But yeah, she kind of reminded me of Elizabeth Bathory. That's some stuff that she was doing in the South with her slaves, or with the people that she had capped and captured, basically. They use the halo of being progressive, good people to lure in their victims, only to reveal the horns as a predatory system. Queen Lee. I don't know nothing about Queen Lee. Ancestral trauma fused with demonic ritual. Yeah, see, that's where people get these things mixed up with a demonic ritual. See, if it's a ritual, that means that it's a type of synergy. It's not dark synergy. Because, see, that's where you see it's fused. Ancestral trauma fused. So whenever you're using, whenever you're hurting people, but you're just using the spirit's name, but you're not using any of the spirit's rules, that's dark synergy. That's honestly, in the spirit world, the person's being a dumbass. And yeah, it can go as far as them to being cult leaders. That really helps me understand those cult leaders a whole lot more. They're based on bullshit. And once you understand that, it all makes more sense, doesn't it? So you can ignore some of these haters easier. Don't you see like I feel? Don't you feel like I feel? The grandmother, Queen Lee, I don't know nothing about this woman, is the Saturn figure who has spent the decades manipulating her children and her grandchildren to provide a host for a demon king. That's getting ridiculous. That's getting ridiculous. She doing too much. I'd be like, lady, you really out here doing a lot. The family isn't a place of safety. It's a farm. Some people, that reminds me of Maryville. Where children are being raised to sacrifice The sick curiosities here are watching a mother realize that her own mother was a monster who ate the family's future before they were even born. What a waste of money. Children are investment. You got Pennywise, you got Mother Gothel. One of my one of my favorite metaphors from one of these fairy tales of dark synergy. She's from Tangled, the movie replicating Rapunzel. Movie villain, Ego, the guardian of the galaxy too. The long lost father, a playful clown. Pennywise was just a playful clown. I was talking about clowns all day yesterday. Blessings to you too, Jarek. Blessings to you too. So, Mother Gothel, mother knows best. Oh, she kept saying to her, so she would just listen, blind with blind faith. Yeah, mother knows best. Psychological gaslighting and isolation to keep her there. Uses magic, youth to keep herself from aging. You could say this is the same as Madame Lalaurie. The slave master woman I was talking about in Louisiana. If you guys know any more examples down below, the Saturn one is a damn good one. Type it down below for me. Appreciate you. Playful clown with Pennywise. He feeds on children's fear. He is the father of Deering, who eats the town's children every 27 years to stay alive. I didn't know about that. Is that why he was bringing them into the gutters? I didn't go in the gutters. The long-lasting father from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that literally absorbing his children's energy. He wants to turn the whole universe into himself. The ultimate Saturn ego. That reminds me of Apocalypse from X-Men, where he wants to turn the world into an image of himself. But instead of them, but a monopoly. Instead of them being a unique image of themselves, they would all be exactly a copy of him. Kind of like Hitler. Everyone's supposed to be, exact in the same line, looking like a certain category. Or kind of like how some people act out here today in the modern times. Are we going above you? Have I thrown this subject above your head? The sick curiosity of devouring children. It really is that's disgusting and sick, and I think it's a waste of money. Heredity or Get Out. So we are drawn to these stories because they break the most basic rule of nature. The parent is supposed to sacrifice for the child, not the other way around. Even octopus do that. Don't y'all know about octopus? They, the women octopus, as they birth their babies, they go ahead and commit suicide, and they play with their babies and stuff in their last moments, because they're finna go. And yeah, an octopus is an orphan from the start of their life. But octopuses are also really, really crazy. So I think that's why they do that. Just saying. So you see a villain like the one in Hereditary or Get Out. The dark synergy makes you feel a specific type of dread. I feel it, don't you? It's like I gotta get my pen. It's the realization that the person who is supposed to love you, oh my gosh, it's reminding me of these bad relationships y'all be in out here, is most likely the one who is going to consume you to save themselves. You just gonna push me in front of the fucking killer and run and trip me? And we was both running. We both got awesome space between the killers. We could both make it. And you just gonna push me? That's this shit. And that's what these people is doing to black people out here. I swear to God. When they done doing to black people, they'll do you next. So I don't even know why y'all out here just looking the other way, not giving a fuck. You know what I think is crazy about Yavis Salik? Am I saying his name wrong? I apologize. But the gentleman who was in the Congolese man in Ireland who we just lost, that he just passed into the other side, into his afterlife recently. You know, there's 6 men that were on top of that gentleman, but then there's a whole crowd of people. And I think it's crazy that the whole crowd of people, and then their authorities over there don't have guns like ours in the state, but in the States. But like, I think it's so crazy that all those people in the crowd, there's more of you than there is them. There was only 6 of them. And all of you guys could have came over and just, you know, pulled those gentlemen off that man and said, stop, we're not going to do this anymore. Stop. We don't like ourselves like acting like this. This is making us look ugly. This is showing a horrible example to the youth. We're not doing this anymore. Stop. Like, people could actually change shit. They could be so simple. But I think that's in a way that people are programmed through fear. I think that's in a way that people are programmed through fear. And it just really takes one person in the crowd to change them. It's what the mind is all set on, though. Is the crowd, is their mind set on destruction and hate, or is their mind set on creativity and birth and life? So what I think is kind of interesting of just looking, not interesting, but I think it's crazy looking at the crowd of Ireland. I don't mean any harm by saying it, but what is everybody into? You know, that was watching that. I know there are some people who are not into that. There are some people who are hollering. Some people, you can see it in the videos. Some people took videos because they're against that behavior. But yeah, just, you know, there's a majority of people around who don't give a fuck, which is crazy. And they would rather be entertained and watch somebody die. And you guys could just watch that, like, you know, in one of these villain movies that we're about to talk about next. The halo horn flip. In these movies, the villain often starts with the halo. You know, I think that's what all these movies and stories and morals and Bible tales are supposed to be really teaching us about. See how they put these halos on their fucking head? I'm your friend. Motherfucker, inorganic. Inorganic one. As hell. Halo, a grandmother's necklace, or a mother's prayer, or a father's hug, or their prayers. Oh, I just found out Psalms is the prayers of money. Did y'all know that? And protection too. And slowly reveal the horns underneath. The dark synergy is that by the time you see the horns, you're already inside the stomach of the beast. Do you want to dive deeper into the psychology of these villains? I want to dive deeper. Do you guys have that Saturn one was a good one. You guys got youngsters. Do you guys have another villain or another metaphor? We talked about the White Queen, right? From Snow White. So excuse me, she's the evil queen. The White Queen is in Alice in Wonderland. We're not going to get into her. She was soft. Now, who was the queen in Narnia? So what were we talking about? So he wasn't really a dark synergic. He changed. You could change. Did you know that, people? Redemption arc. That's what they call that. So these, that's why people say you need to redeem, or you need to repent. That's when you're asking for redemption and shit. When you're asking for forgiveness. Really from yourself. People say from the Lord, but yourself.
That specific turning point is called a redemption arc, or a redemptive pivot, and when a character breaks free from a dark synergy like Mr. Tumnus did, it's incredibly powerful. In storytelling, they call his specific starting position the reluctant monster or the coerced accomplice. Here is exactly how Tumnus broke his own dark synergy and what that transition is called. 1. The trapped synergy, his starting point. Before he meets Lucy, Tumnus is caught in a mini dark synergy engineered by the White Witch. The coercion the witch has threatened to turn him into stone or cut off his tail if he doesn't report humans. The guilt. He takes her money or protection and agrees to be a kidnapper, completely betraying his own gentle nature as a fawn. The synergy, fear plus desperation, equals compliance. He uses his halo, his cozy home, his warm tea and his beautiful flute music to lull a child into a false sense of safety so he can hand her over to a tyrant. 2. The crisis of conscience, the breaking point. The exact moment he stops playing the flute and starts crying is the moral awakening. The dark synergy breaks because the reality of his actions strikes his conscience. He realizes that maintaining his own safety, his halo, requires the literal destruction of an innocent child. The contrast is too sharp, and the synergy collapses under the weight of his own guilt. 3. The defiance, the redemptive pivot. When he actively chooses to walk Lucy back to the lamppost, he enters a sacrificial redemption. He knows that by saving her, he is signing his own arrest warrant. The redemptive contrast, a true dark synergist, like Silas or the Evil Queen, doubles down when their reality is threatened. A redemptive character like Tumnus breaks down and chooses to suffer the consequences of the horns being turned to stone, rather than keep pretending to wear a false halo. So while he started on a dark path of compliance with evil, his arc is the ultimate story of moral redemption, proving that empathy can shatter even the coldest dark synergy.
Are they going to be good or are they going to be bad? It's a game of fable. With the choices that you make throughout life, either you're going to have those horns or you're going to have a halo. It's your choice. So that's what people don't understand. Are you going up or are you going down in your afterlife? Oh, the next question I want to ask. Is there anyone else who wants to throw a villain out there that we should dissect for their dark synergy? Moral redemption. That's the turning point. That reminds me of that band. After that dude from Pantera, he made that band Turning Point. No, that he made that song Turning Point. Super Joint Ritual. But he made the song Turning Point. That's what that shit reminds me of. It's a fucking turning point. And they have, what is that when they hop over from being a Sith to a Jedi? Do they have one of those? I thought isn't it in the game of Star Wars or the movie of Star Wars, you're supposed to be either or? You can't be both. Why you can't be both? It's kind of like how they do religion out here. If you're all of it, then they're like, you're none of it. And it's like, no, they're people who study priesthood are definitely not atheists. It's definitely a difference. Definitely a difference. King Reality and the Aura Company. What? I've never heard of this. I feel like we're going to get deep into this. Oh, one more question. Let me write this down. Well, you wrote it down for me. And so the black sheep is the one who doesn't fall for all this shit?
While the sheep is a classic, widely understood term for people who are easily led or blinded by a false halo, psychologists, criminologists, and sociologists have specific names for these targets depending on how the dark synergist traps them. When a dark synergist, like a cult leader, a con artist, or a corrupt authority figure, deploys their tricks, the victims generally fall into a few distinct categories based on their role in the dynamic.
Why do they got hell names?
1.
The seekers.
The idealistic target, the empaths.
The target.
Or the
see?
seekers. Dark
dressed like a
synergists
target.
rarely target weak, foolish people first.
Bless
They target
you.
idealistic people. Why they are targeted? They have something the synergist wants to consume or
Idealistic
use, e.g.,
people.
trust, resources, pure intentions, or innocence, like Lucy with Mr. Tumnus. The trap. The synergist mimics a halo that perfectly matches what the seeker is looking for: spiritual enlightenment, true love, or safety. The term, in psychology, they are often called the unwitting marks or the empathic supply. 2. The weaponized followers, the enablers, or the flying monkeys. This group is closer
Flying
to what
monkeys.
people mean when they say the sheep, but their role is much more dangerous. They don't just get tricked, they become part of the system.
Yep.
Why they are targeted? They are looking for
you can't
authority,
follow the crowd.
belonging, or protection, and they are willing to turn a blind eye to cruelty to get it, like Mr. Tumnus's initial stage. The trap, the synergist, convinces them that they are part of an elite group or doing God's work, like Silas in the Da Vinci Code. The term, in psychology, they are called the enablers, or the flying monkeys, a term from the Wizard of Oz for people who do the witch's dirty work. In sociology, they are called the co-opted. 3. The structural victims, the collateral. These are the people who don't even know the dark synergist exists, but their lives are destroyed by the system the synergist creates.
Trumpers.
The trap. They are caught in the wake of the synergy's state or social power. The term, the exploited
stupid.
or the disenfranchised.
Don't be dumb, gotta be
The
tough.
anatomy of the trap, why sheep doesn't fully fit. Calling them sheep implies they are just mindless or stupid, but the dark synergy is usually much more sophisticated than a simple trick. It relies on a specific psychological exploit. The synergist's false halo exploits the victim's trust/good intentions
The
equals
box says
total
they're not
compliance.
stupid.
The victim isn't necessarily
They're
foolish.
perfectly
They are
capable
vulnerable
of making
because
their
they
own
assume the
choices.
person with the halo operates by the same
They're just
moral rules they
vulnerable.
do. The dark synergist uses that decency as a weapon against them. We've looked at the victims, the monsters, and the modern horror archetypes. Where should Gem guide our exploration next? Explore the flying monkey dynamic in real-world cults. Look at the symbiosis between a dark synergist and their perfect target.
So it's like people say, whatever you want, you can't want it too much. Kind of like people out here, the first example I'm going to say is love or money or fame for people out here. That's how they get tricked. Whatever you want, you can't want it too much. Let's get into, so who is the, let me get,
It looks like there isn't a specific person or single famous entity widely known by the exact combination of asterisk, King Realty and Oracle. Instead, that phrasing connects a few different major tech and corporate concepts.
I'm typing in there. Is this a real person or is this like a character? Realty. In real estate? Is that a real estate company? The trust and the buyers? I'm gonna have Gemini explain it out for us.
It looks like there isn't a specific person or single famous entity widely known by the exact combination of King Realty and Oracle. Instead, that phrasing connects a few...
Not Oracle. Then we go to the next one. Cleveland, King Hodges, Willis Rollins, and Aunt Ruth. Bless you with your people. Yeah, that's what it's saying. Is that one of your peoples? I was wondering about the mask. Royalty, protection, beauty, and divine right. The movie with Jim Carrey in it. Professional light seeing, top producer, status and glowing marketing. The target, the innocent, the seeker, Snow White and Lucy. They're the seeker. They're the ones who are looking for some magic within life. And we can't look too hard, too. I am the victim. Oh, bless you. They changed their name to the guild. Oh, okay. Devouring the child. Dang, that's some like the story that's been going on for a long time, huh? In Colorado, or you said Ohio? The method of consumption is devour. Anyways, how does the fiduciary duty, Mr. Oh, because he's doing the duty of what the queen says. So they're more like flying monkeys, not really sheep. And so
It is a profound and unsettling question. When you look at flying monkeys, the people who carry out the dirty work, spread the gossip, or enforce the rules for a dark synergist, it is completely natural to look at their behavior and think, asterisk, there has to be something mentally wrong with them to do this to another person. However, psychology reveals a much scarier truth. Most flying monkeys do not have a diagnosed mental illness. Instead, they are regular people whose normal human psychology has been hijacked and weaponized. The dark synergist doesn't need their followers to be sick, they just need them to be human. Here is exactly how perfectly healthy brains are tricked into doing monstrous things. 1. The weaponization of normal psychology. Instead of exploiting a mental illness, a dark synergist exploits standard human survival traits. The need for belonging, tribalism. Human beings are wired to belong to a group. Historically, exile meant death.
Use that word for it though.
A dark synergist creates an in-group, the chosen ones, the loyal ones, and an out-group, the enemy, the target. A perfectly healthy person will participate in cruelty just to ensure they aren't kicked out of the tribe. Cognitive dissonance. If a flying monkey starts to realize the leader is doing something bad, their brain experiences intense discomfort. To stop that pain, the brain automatically rationalizes the behavior. The leader must be right, which means the victim must have done something to deserve this. It is a defense mechanism, not an illness. 2. The architecture of the trick.
It's a defense
dark
mechanism.
Synergist uses specific psychological loops to turn a normal person into an enabler without them ever realizing they've crossed a line.
It's them
The false halo, dehumanizing the target, diffusion of responsibility equals cruelty without guilt. Step 1. The false halo, idealization. The flying monkey genuinely believes the synergist is a good person, a great boss, a holy leader, or a loving parent. Because they believe the leader is good, they assume the leader's actions must be good. Step 2. Dehumanizing the target. The synergist convinces the flying monkey that the victim is dangerous, a liar, untrustworthy, or the problem. The flying monkey doesn't think they are attacking an innocent person, they think they are defending the group from a threat. Step 3. Diffusion of responsibility. As the classic Stanley Milgram obedience experiments proved, normal people will inflict severe pain on others if an authority figure takes responsibility for the outcome. The flying monkey tells themselves, I'm just doing my job, or I'm just passing along what I was told. The big distinction, the narcissist versus the flying monkey. To understand why one is driven by a deep psychological defect and the other isn't, look at their core motivations. The dark synergist, the leader. The flying monkey, the enabler, driven by pathological narcissism, malicious control, or Machiavellianism, personality disorders. Driven by fear, ignorance, misplaced loyalty, or a desire for approval. Knows the truth. They know they are manipulating the situation to protect their own ego/power. Blinded by the truth. They genuinely believe they are on the right side of history, or just doing what is necessary. The mindset, I am the queen, and I will destroy anyone who threatens my reflection. The mindset, the queen said Snow White is dangerous, so I am helping protect the kingdom. The terrifying truth, the banality of evil. Philosopher Hannah Arendt coined the
Thanks for
phrase the
dropping a like, by
banality
the
of
way.
evil when describing how everyday, ordinary people participated in historical atrocities. She noted that they weren't monsters or madmen, they were terrifyingly tedious, normal bureaucrats who simply accepted the premise of the system they were in and stopped thinking critically. When someone says a flying monkey doesn't have a mental illness, they aren't letting them off the hook or saying their behavior is acceptable. They are pointing out
They have
something
a
much
choice
more
to do
dangerous. A healthy mind can be trained to do dark things if it surrenders its conscience to a false halo. They aren't necessarily sick, they are compromised. Would you like to look at the specific manipulation tactics used to hook these enablers in the first place?
It's the halo effect of being innocent to catch them. And then the hook, line, and sinker. You got them hook, line, and sinker. And how do they make you a flying monkey? How do you become a follower? Like people say, don't be a follower.
The process of turning a perfectly healthy, well-meaning person into a flying monkey doesn't happen overnight.
It's groomed.
It is a systematic, psychological grooming process. A dark synergist takes a step-by-step approach to slowly erode a person's independent judgment until they are willing to defend the synergist and attack the victim. Here are the specific stages of that grooming pipeline. Stage 1,
Bless you.
the halo scouting and love bombing. The synergist doesn't look for weak people. They look for individuals with high empathy, a strong sense of loyalty, or a desire to belong. The tactic, the synergist, mirrors the target's values. If the target values justice, the synergist acts like a crusader. If the target values family, the synergist acts like a dedicated protector. They flood the target with praise, validation, or exclusive attention. The goal, to establish an unshakable belief that the synergist is a profoundly good, safe, or heroic person. This cements the false halo. Stage 2, the in-group us versus them setup.
Stages.
Once the target is hooked on the
Too much work for me.
validation, the synergist begins to subtly draw lines between our group and the rest of the world. The tactic.
They isolate
start
you.
sharing secrets, or creating a sense of exclusive camaraderie. They frame themselves as misunderstood by outsiders, or persecuted by jealous critics. The goal, to manufacture a deep sense of tribal loyalty. The target begins to feel that protecting the synergist is equivalent to protecting the entire group's survival or mission. Stage 3, the covert smear campaign, dehumanizing the victim. Before the flying monkey is ever asked to do anything cruel, their mind must be prepared to view the eventual victim, not as a person, but as a threat. The tactic, the synergist drops subtle, concerned-sounding hints about the victim. They don't say, I hate them. Instead they say, I'm really worried about their mental stability,
Now they talk about
or
black people.
they've been acting so hostile and dishonest lately, it's hurting the team. The goal, to rewrite the narrative. By the time this stage is done, the flying monkey views the actual victim as an aggressor, a liar, or a saboteur. Stage 4, the testing the waters request, the micro-betrayal. The synergist will test the grooming's effectiveness by asking the target to do something small that slightly crosses a moral or professional line. The tactic. They might ask the target to report back on what the victim is doing, log a minor complaint, or just silently sit by while the synergist subtly insults the victim in a meeting. The goal, to create cognitive dissonance. Once the target participates in even a tiny bit of unfairness, their brain has to justify it. I wouldn't do something unfair unless it was completely necessary to protect the group. They are now complicit. Stage 5. The activation. Deploying the flying monkey. Now that the target's reality has been completely inverted, the synergist activates them to do the heavy lifting. The tactic, the synergist plays the victim. They express deep distress, fear, or outrage over something the real victim supposedly did. They give a subtle green light or a direct plea. Can you talk to them? Or, everyone needs to know what they did so we can protect the office/family. The goal, total execution. The groomed person steps forward to confront, isolate, or smear the actual victim. The psychological trajectory. At the start of the pipeline, the person acts out of admiration for a false hero. By the end of the pipeline, they act out of a manufactured sense of righteous indignation. Love bombing us versus them smear campaign, micro-betrayal, full activation. Because the transition happens in tiny logical steps, the flying monkey genuinely believes they are acting on their own free will and doing the right thing. They don't see the strings pulling them, they just see a halo that they believe they must defend at all costs.
Puppet master. The puppet and the puppet master, the slave and the slave master. We have traced the blueprint of these psychological traps are set. What should Jim guide our conversation to next? Because the transition happens in tiny logical steps, the flying monkey generally believes that they are acting on their own free will and doing the right thing by going out there and hurting innocent people and not stopping yourself and not listening to what your elders have said to you. You out here, y'all out here listening to white lies. And it's good white people who came over there from Europe who's warning us of those bad white people with white lies too. They went around the world with it. But yeah, you are welcome. You had some RICO charges. Oh, bless you. You said thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for coming through, and thanks for everybody, by the way. Let me take a moment to thank you for taking a moment to do a deep dive with me and just learn a little bit more about how some toxic people act out here. You know, we're going over the halo effect basically right now. How for some people they try to get you with a religious trap. Some people use their faith to hurt, and that's what we're talking about right now. We're not using the people who use their faith to love. It's another conversation. Must be game stalking by playbook. Are you going through that right now? Bless you, Michael Robinson. Bless you. But yeah, as a lot of people say, these people get you in with a love bombing. So don't fall head over heels. Look to see who is in front of you before you guys do too much. Definitely don't look to see who's in front of you guys before you do too much. I feel like everyone should have at least 2 of the 5 languages of love. And if they can't do those 2 by you, then you know they're not interested in you. Because some of those things are easy. Some of those things you provide money, and some of those things you don't have to know that someone is generally interested in you. Yo, this pipeline. It reminds me of the pipeline from the school to prison type shit. At the start of the pipeline, the person acts out of admiration for a false hero. By the end of the pipeline, they act out a manufactured sense of righteous indignation. And so there's a difference from being someone who would be like this, but they have psychological problems, is a narcissist. So someone who hasn't been diagnosed with any type of psychological problems has just got that Horn effect. Some people would just say evil. Some people would say that they know what they're doing. The religious fanatic, you guys. So don't be a religious fanatic out here. Don't shove your spirituality or religion down people's throats. If you want to welcome people and teach people about your faith, then do that. But if somebody's not your faith, it is okay, you guys. So the second step is the us and the them. I feel like that's the whole isolation part. I wanted to break down. Thank you, and thank you for coming. You're welcome, and thank you for coming. The covert smear campaign, dehumanizing the victim, going around and telling people that that person's not as special as they act like they are, before the flying monkey is ever asked to do anything cruel. Their mind must be prepared. And that's kind of what it reminds me of, showing people, especially black people, being killed and unalived on TV. And I feel like it's desensitizing people. It's getting people used to seeing, this is the type of person that is going to be hurt. It's just reminding me of Rome, and when they would do the purge with the Helots, with the people who had darker skin that were that were below them. So their mind must be prepared to view the eventual victim not as a person but as a threat. Yeah, so of course they don't mind this person being hurt. So that's what I was kind of wondering, trying to step into the mind of the group of the people around Jovis, Sykes in Ireland. How there's only 6 people on top of this man. They don't have guns. Like, majority of these people could pry them off of this man and say, there's going to be a better way of handling this besides killing him. Well, majority of those people just figured, well, he should die because he shoplifted perfume. That's what people are trying to say. But then you got people out here starting wars, and ain't nobody throwing a straitjacket on him and taking him to an insane asylum. Mr. Trump. I do believe what people are saying, that he's a cult leader. Yeah, with the flying monkey is the victim too. What? Oh, the flying monkey. That's interesting what you said. Some of those flying monkeys are victims too, and little do they realize it, as they're not using their brains. I want to ask what Jim thinks about what you said real quick, because I think on some level, some of those people, it's interesting. It's interesting because Jim just said, well, these people have a choice. But kind of like we've been learning through these examples, some people who are in sound mind and sound body can be taught to hurt others. So I mean, I think that's interesting what you said, that the flying monkey is also a victim too. So stage 3, the smear campaign. And the victim is not a person. The flying monkeys are not people neither. They're kind of like mindless machines. The tactic, the synergist, drops a subtle, concerned sounding hint about the victim. Okay, saying, I hate them. No, not saying I don't hate them. Instead, they turn it around like, I'm just looking out for you. I'm really worried for your mental stability. And then the goal is to rewrite history or the narrative. By the time the stage is done, the flying monkey views the actual victim as an aggressor, a liar, or a saboteur. The devil, if you will, or a demon. Half a human with the skin, us and them. The testing of the waters requires a micro-betrayal. So as synergists will test the grooming effectiveness by asking the target to do something small, like slightly crossing their morals or their lines, their professional lines, doing something that they would not do. Tactics. So they might ask the target to report back on what the victim is doing, log in on minor complaint, okay, trying to see the loyalty of these flying monkeys, or just silently sit by. That's what their people are trying to do right now with the rest of the world. I feel like with black people, are you going to silently sit by while the synergist subtly insults the victim publicly in a meeting? That's why some people holler, snap back at other people. They know what's going on when someone's trying to make them look stupid in front of other people. The goal to create a cognitive dissonance. My friend talks about cognitive dissonance all the time, and psychologically how she feels that it can be really dangerous in people. Once the target participates in even a tiny bit of unfairness, their brain has to justify, I wouldn't do this unfairness unless it was completely necessary to protect the group. That's how the monkeys the flying monkeys give themselves courage to continue to hurt an innocent. That now they've been fully activated, deploying the flying monkey. Now that the target's reality has been completely reinverted, they've been gaslighted, and it's complete. The synergist activates them to do the heavy lifting. Yeah, so you're the puppet. You're working for them. You're the follower. Kind of like Charles Manson and the Manson family. Now you're part of. That's why I'm not really into those people saying I'm a family with them, unless this is actually my family. If it's the workplace, if it's a workplace. If we're a good group of people, good friends of people, we're good friends of people. Say what it is. The synergist plays the victim. Actually, how can everybody be the fucking victim? The synergist he plays the victim though, because the victim is actually really the victim, the one who's being targeted. They express deep distress, fear, outrage over something the real victim supposedly did. That reminds me of Emmett Till and how that white lady lied on him so he could get killed. And then years later, she said that she lied. She admitted it. But nothing happened to her. And she's just, I just live with guilt my whole life. But she really got away with some evil shit. They give a subtle green light or a direct plea. Can you talk to them, or everyone needs to know what they did so they can protect the family? The tactic, the synergist plays the victim. They express deep distress, fear out of outrage over something that the real victim, they're lying that they did something. Kind of how like racist white people be towards black people, lying that they did something. They give a subtle green light We must talk to them. We must reform them. We must refine them. We must put the natives over there in the reservations. They don't deserve the homes that they're originally in. The goal, the total execution. The groomed person steps forward to confront, the isolate, or smear the actual victim. So, corporate work environment or narcissist abuse area. I call that what it is. Now, everyone here in the circle is supposed to be the victim, besides the actual victim being the victim. So,
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the most complex layers of the entire dynamic. Asterisk, the flying monkeys are also victims of the dark synergist. Even though they are actively causing harm to the primary target, they have been psychologically manipulated, used as a human shield, and stripped of their independent judgment. Here is exactly how the flying monkey is victimized by the very person they think they are protecting. 1.
They don't want them to think.
The theft of agency
For themselves.
Mental exploitation. The dark synergist uses the flying monkey as an extension of their own will. The flying monkey loses their ability to see reality clearly because their perception has been completely hijacked through the grooming process. They aren't acting on accurate information, they are acting on a carefully constructed lie.
Yeah,
Their empathy,
I agree,
loyalty,
Michael.
and good intentions have been weaponized against them. 2. The legal and social fall guy, the human shield. Dark synergists are masters of keeping their own hands clean. They rarely commit the final act of cruelty or rule-breaking themselves. They get the flying monkey to do it. The trap. If the smear campaign blows up, if a HR complaint is filed, or if legal action is taken, the dark synergist will immediately step back and claim innocence. The consequence. The flying monkey is the one caught holding the smoking gun. They are left to face the social fallout, the loss of a job, or the destruction of relationships, while the synergist smoothly moves on to find a new protector.
New victim.
3. The discard phase, disposable tools. To a dark synergist, people are not individuals, they are functions. As long as the flying monkey is useful, compliant, and defending the false halo, they are treated well. The moment the flying monkey questions an order, shows genuine sympathy to the primary victim, or outlives their usefulness, the synergist will turn on them instantly. The flying monkey goes from being the trusted insider to the next target on the chopping block in the blink of an eye. The 2 levels of victimhood. When looking at a dark synergy system, it helps to see it as a hierarchy of harm. The primary target, the scapegoat. The secondary target, the flying monkey. How they are harmed, directly attacked, isolated, defamed, and financially or emotionally drained. How they are harmed, emotionally conned, psychologically trapped, used for dirty work and ultimately discarded. Their awareness. They usually know exactly who the villain is because the mask has been dropped for them. Their awareness. They are completely in the dark, believing they are heroes while acting as accomplices. This is why dark synergy is so destructive. It doesn't just destroy the person it attacks, it corrupts and damages the people who sign up to defend it. The flying monkey is a victim who has been tricked into becoming a weapon.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They're victims too, but they're the secondary victim. That's why it was so hard for me to wrap my mind around it. Because it's like, didn't you choose that shit? They got tricked. They got psychologically tricked. You know, don't let other people think for you. We got our own mind to think for ourselves. So, Todd says about the Puffle people, the truth. Now, what is that about? The Puffle people, the truth. The Hodges. Francis, Willis, and King. Verna, Lynn, and Harry. I've never heard of any of those names. Are those Eastern names? Bearing false witness on anyone is bad karma. Seriously. Yeah, I must agree with you, Michael. I must agree with you. Look it up, please. My life is an open book. This is... Yeah, we are in real time right now. But what do you mean, the Puffle people?
The terms purple people and references to the truth pop up across a few entirely different corners of culture, history, and internet lore. Depending on whether you are looking at a historic real-world community, a famous sci-fi mystery, or a specific business concept, the truth behind the name changes completely. Here is a breakdown of the 3 most famous meanings behind the Purple People. 1. The historical Purple People, the Phoenicians. If you look into ancient history, the original Purple People were the Phoenicians, an ancient civilization of sea traders who lived along the Mediterranean coast, modern-day Lebanon and Syria. The history, the ancient Greeks gave them the name Phoenicia, which literally translates to Land of Purple.
The X-Files, Purple
The
People,
truth,
you got the Greys.
they earned this name because they held a strict monopoly on...
Are you talking about Purple People? Denver Public School. Who? Are you okay, Ted? We trying to do, like, you know, figures that most people know about. And you giving me people, you telling me to look up people. Are you being the evil people that we talking about in this video right now? The people with the horns? Rather than trying to use your halo? Spiritual malice. Let's get into that. And then we're going to go
Spiritual malice is the intentional use of a spiritual, religious, or moral halo to mask inherently harmful, manipulative, or toxic behavior. It occurs when a person exploits sacred concepts, such as faith, cosmic alignment, karma, or divine authority, not to uplift others, but to control, guilt, or dominate them. It is the ultimate form of dark synergy because it weaponizes a person's deepest beliefs and vulnerabilities against them, making the target feel like they are defying something sacred if they stand up for themselves.
Yep, kind of like that dude was trying to say to me, nature's gonna get you. Nature already got your ass, bitch. How the fuck nature gonna get me? I go outside and see the beautiful clouds and shit. I don't litter, bitch. And,
Short definition, dark sanctuary. A dark sanctuary is a physical or psychological space controlled entirely by a dark synergist, where the rules of reality are twisted, dissent is completely eliminated, and the primary target is totally isolated and trapped under the absolute power of the leader. It is the final destination of a dark synergy, a place where the false halo has completely hardened into a prison. The journey to a dark sanctuary, in layman's terms, think of it as a 4-step trap where a person is slowly led away from the safety of the normal world into a private fortress controlled by the master manipulator. 1.
School 2,
the bait,
prison 2.
The warm invitation. The dark synergist creates a beautiful, welcoming environment. They present themselves as your ultimate protector, your biggest fan, or your only true guide, their false halo. They make you feel like you've found a special, safe haven where you finally belong. 2. The separation, cutting the strings. Once you trust them, they start whispering in your ear. They tell you that your old friends, family, or outside professionals don't truly understand you or are secretly jealous of your bond. They use their flying monkeys to cause drama outside, making you feel like the rest of the world is hostile. 3. Closing the gates, locking the doors. You start relying only on the synergist for your safety, your information, and your emotional needs. You step entirely inside their world, whether that's a toxic workplace, a high control group, or a deeply isolated relationship. The doors to the outside world are now effectively shut. 4. The dark sanctuary, the final trap. Now that you are completely cut off from any reality checks, the trap is sprung. Inside this space, the synergist drops their mask completely when no one else is looking. Because there are no outside witnesses, they have total control. You are trapped in their sanctuary, forced to accept their version of the truth just to survive. In short, a dark synergist uses a fake promise of safety to lead a target away from everyone else, systematically shutting the doors behind them until the target is trapped in a private room where the synergist rules supreme.
You know, a lot of people want me to not say it. Strip clubs. Strip clubs where they got the girl in the back room, strapped. And you have to perform sexually. And do things that you don't want to do. And start going through these breakdowns. Dark sanctuary. She's in a dark sanctuary. Michael said that church and religion is a great cover for an abuser. It is. So is we were talking about earlier about cops, authority, government, the law, lawyers, judges. You know, if people good, obviously we could see there's good people who are not taking those positions, like Mr. Thomas from Narnia, and he popped out of Narnia, and now he on the Supreme Court. We see some good people up there who took those positions who don't need them damn positions. The literature describes a friend I had to cut off. Oh, man. That sucks. But it's best to know what's in front of you and not have frenemies. Can't really be being friends with foes, you know? You can't really be a friend with a foe, with someone who might be trying to hurt you rather than trying to love you, rather than trying to hang out with you, you know? There was one more thing that I wanted to. You are trapped in their sanctuary, forced to accept their version of the truth just to survive. That's what I feel like. I think it's crazy how racist people know what they're doing. That's why I think sometimes they know what they're doing. They're trying to rewrite history, trap black people into a sanctuary, so we'll be forced to accept their version of the truth with rewriting history books, how they're doing. And there's some things that they cannot rewrite, like the truth that's just out there. The bait, the separation, closing the gate, and dark sanctuary. Yeah, Epstein shit. They trying to do this shit worldwide. So anyways, you guys, have your eyes open in front of you, you know. It's okay to be skeptical. And sometimes your born friend is a person that's all right to be around. They're not looking to sell you. They might actually really be your friend. I was fooled, damage was done, and it's in the past now. Well, you learned, and you learned how not to go through situations like that again. So I hope this brought a lot of awareness to people. Hope this taught a lot. And yeah, we're talking about, you know, not everything that glitters is gold. I mean, just because some people might look, just because an angel looks like an angel on the outside, it could be a demon on the inside. Sometimes some people look crazy on the outside. They look like demons on the outside. That might be an angel on the inside. Don't judge a book by its cover. But really, I did this video because these fake ass Christians and these Jesus freaks were annoying me. This is the shit that they're trying to do. Their little KKK, police brutality, Trumper bullshit. This is what they're trying to do, and everybody knows it, and everybody can see it, and we're just going to keep talking about it, you know, until they sit down and reflect, and they realize nobody wants to play with them. Nobody wants to make money with them. So they stop or chill out. Yeah, so the gerrymandering that they want to do over here in Georgia, like all the towns that they want to have a say, like they just want Atlanta and the South, like close to, not even Albany, I think over there by Columbus, to have like black representatives, and that's it. And then the rest of the state is supposed to have white representatives. And unfortunately, the rest of the state is poor and inbred and racist. Like y'all might hear right now about how Morgan County doesn't have water. Unfortunately, unfortunately for them, they are the most racist part of this state. So I don't understand why I'm supposed to feel sorry for racists, because they're feeling the bad karma of being racist and being shitty to people. And now they don't have clean drinking water because they don't want to be team players with everybody else, but they're forcing all the other colored people in the world to be team players with them. But they're not really being no team players. They just want to whip you on the back and say, you do what I say, but you're going to be misguided because I don't really even know what the fuck I'm saying. And that's paraphrasing for a racist. Okay. The signage of the lodge and the bar. Now, what is that about? Oh, that's how you'll know. That's how you'll know. Their symbols. Yeah, all club has the symbols. It kind of reminds me of the inorganic one and the bait from the Dark Crystal, that movie, and then they made a series. The inorganic ones, the ones they're supposed to be a story that there are these creatures who are not from Earth, and apparently we're not from Earth either. But there are creatures that are from Earth, but we almost killed them off to extinction, so they hid. But like apparently, the inorganic ones are supposed to be harming the humans or the people who've come to Earth. They're supposed to be harming everyone. That's their goal, is to harm the humans. So that's supposed to be their name, the inorganic ones. And the way that they trick you and get to you is that they say, I'm your friend, but they don't act like your friend at all. But the gelflings, you know, the people, they fall for it. So they fall for it. Kind of like, I'm going to bring down gas prices. And your gas prices shot the fucking roof. Trump is an inorganic one, and his mission is to harm the human race. Anyways, guys, whatever religion or spiritual system that you guys are in, it should be making you a better person. It should be expanding your mind. It should be helping you get towards love. If that's what you want to do. Love for yourself, love for your family, your work, your life, your spouse. But one thing is, religion does not give anybody the excuse to go out there and kill anyone. You only have the permission to kill yourself. And a lot of people say don't do that. They tell you don't do that. All right? But we damn sure don't have permission to kill somebody else, especially if that's somebody else's child and if that's a stranger. And don't think y'all are being smart out here as y'all trying to use Jesus or religion to do your dirty deeds and to take out your sick curiosities and to rape beautiful girls who are not asking for it. Don't think Jesus is going to save you and that he died for them sins. He didn't die for those. Jesus died for his own sins. And when you're going to get up to the pearly gates and when it's your judgment time, you will be dying for your own. All right? So watch your behavior. Because Jesus ain't coming in for a savior to save you like you have been fooled. The story of Jesus is not an example, is not an excuse for people to do wicked because they think, well, when it's time for me to go to heaven, I'm going to go anyway because Jesus said. No. If you're doing wicked in your life, then you have overridden Jesus dying for you and your sins, and you'll have to go on down. And those people fucking know it. And I think that's why they they get worse and they continue to do evil. But honestly, it's never too late. And as we just went up, watch the video over again, but as we just went through it, what do they call that? The Redemption Act. As Christians say, repent, pay attention to your good karma. As some Buddhists say, spread good karma without looking for anything back in return. That's the dualities. But anyways, guys, try your best to be good. And don't listen to these people out here telling you to give into your animalistic desire. So that's not going to get you to any type of promised land. See ya. I'll see ya later. Throw me a like before you guys leave. And thanks for expanding your mind with me.